I want to tell you a secret today. I want to address the question of the elusive Hindu unity. Not that I have anything particularly profound to say. On the contrary, what I will say is so obvious that it tends to be ignored by most people. Once you hear me out, you will hopefully be able to better understand and explain the chaos of the so-called Hindutva politics. I am a Kashmiri Hindu, and ever since we were kicked out from our homes by the friendly Muslim majority, our community has held thousands of conferences and symposiums all over India to figure out a way to reverse this catastrophe that struck us. A viable solution has eluded us so far, but we have found an answer to not just why we don't seem to find a solution, but to all other questions we often ask of ourselves. Why did we get kicked out? Why can't we return? Why doesn't anyone listen to us? Why does the Indian state ignore us? Why do journalists like Barkha Dutt mock our suffering? Why do the Chinese eat bats? Okay, other than the last question, the universal answer to everything else seems to be we lack unity. There is a running joke in our community that if some people convert to Islam, those not following suit will be accused of not having unity. Over the years, I have realized that this "we lack unity" slogan has not been copyrighted by the exiled Kashmiri Pandits. It turns out to be even more popular among politically conscious non-Kashmiri Hindus or those who call themselves right-wing, even though the description may confuse someone who understands what left and right really mean. And here too, there is a universal consensus about we lack unity. But no one seems to know why that is so. I suppose it would be a good idea to reflect on what unity might mean in the given context. At the risk of offending logicians, I'd like to declare that human beings are creatures of light. I don't mean this in a spiritual way. Science literate folks would know that light has a dual nature. Similarly, human beings have a dual nature when it comes to morality. We are selfish and selfless at the same time. Evolutionary psychologists describe us as parochial altruists, which means that we are terribly selfish as individuals, but display selfless behavior as members of a larger group like family, clan, sports team, club, etc. In other words, as individuals, we want to outcompete everyone else, including our best friend, but as part of a team, we are willing to put up with an irritating acquaintance just so that the team we are a part of wins. The science behind this duality is quite interesting. Biologist Michael Tomasello attributes our groupishness or ultra-sociality to what he calls intentionality, the ability to share mental representations of tasks that two or more individuals are pursuing together. It is what differentiates us, human beings, from our primate cousins like chimps. This dynamic division of labor, one person rowing the boat and the other controlling its rudder to achieve the shared objective of reaching the other shore of the lake. Or the thankless man slacking off on the couch and the noble feminist girlfriend ordering food from Swiggy to achieve the shared goal of having a romantic dinner together. Chimps do not have this ability, though one may argue that they have a better sense of romance than feminists. Moving on. If you haven't guessed it already, the unity that political Hindus so desperately want to achieve is the same thing as the groupishness that I was speaking about just now. The ability to work selflessly for the good of the team. The complaint of the so-called Hindu right is that Hindus start bickering over trivialities and do not look at the big picture. But what is that big picture? A big fat zero. What is most interesting is that most political Hindus blame the lack of Hindu unity on caste, which was and still is the only functional unit of groupishness in Hindu society. Why that is so is a question worth pondering on. I believe it has to do with the structure of Hindu society and the very fabric of Sanatan Dharma. The philosophical edifice of classical Hinduism is built on the foundation of an exquisite tradition of dialectical debates. There are no commandments, there are no fatwas, there are only revelations in the form of the Vedas, followed by millennia of argument and counter-argument over how these revelations must be interpreted. There is no single final doctrine, and whatever modern consensus there is, like over karma, rebirth, etc., is an exception rather than the rule. Though even these concepts have not gone unchallenged at some point or the other in the past. Obviously, expecting people to rally around a saffron flag based on such heavy cognitive load is as absurd as expecting theoretical physicists to form a political party with Einstein's papers on relativity as its manifesto. Actually, given the lack of dharmic education that modern Hindus have, it is more like asking kindergarten kids to form a political party. Yeah, sure, the people of the book have it nice and easy with their sky daddy directing his wrath at the unbelievers. Since we do not have that Abrahamic privilege, Hindu society is constituted of groups that emerged out of pragmatic and worldly imperatives like economics. These groups were called jatis, later crystallized and mistranslated as caste in English. And while intellectuals and politicians alike in modern India have waged a war against caste, when it comes to electoral strategy or mobilizing people for a cause, the same politicians always bank on caste, which goes to show how resilient the structure really is. But this is not a lecture on caste, and that would require a series of dedicated talks to clarify its many nuances. I mention it here only to draw attention to the point that for Hindus, groupishness has been a function of pragmatic goals like occupation and economics, not religious doctrine. Compared to that, Christians and Muslims have the in-group and out-group neatly defined in their scriptures. So even though there are many sects and doctrinal differences within Christianity and Islam, they all agree that the unbeliever is going to hell and that they must do all they can to save him from the impending calamity by converting him. They want to convert every single person on the earth so that their team wins. Complete dominance of the planet. That is their big picture, whether we like it or not. It is therefore plain as daylight that to ask for Hindu unity without defining the objectives of that unity is a pipe dream. And due to the serious cognitive error, people make stupid claims like all 130 crore Indians are Hindus. In the absence of a big picture goal, Hindus fall for political unity under the umbrella of this political party or that. That is a non-starter because, after all, not many people feel that they are part of a larger cause when their role is limited to casting a vote once in 5 years and maybe quarreling on Twitter or being an apologist for the dear leader for 4 years and 364 days. If you believe that the larger cause is winning elections, join a political party and compete with other individuals for an election ticket instead of competing for retweets and scoring brownie points. If you haven't noticed, posting on social media is not a team sport anyway, except if you belong to the IT cell of a party that tries to fake trends by mass posting. So why look for Hindu unity there? If you want Hindu unity, do not go chasing that mirage. Look around you instead. Find big problems to solve and start looking for solutions. Hindu temples are not free. Sadhus are getting lynched. Pilgrimages are under assault. Our holy rivers are polluted. We are not even allowed to celebrate our festivals without people getting shot. Our sacred land has already been partitioned and is heading towards another one. Our rituals are being banned. And Hindus are being persecuted in neighboring countries. Illegal infiltrators have settled here permanently with government support. You see, there are many problems to solve. And if the problem you choose is big enough, you will not be able to solve it on your own, right? So you will have to find fellow travelers, and your biology will ensure that you become a team player. When you choose pragmatism over pontification, action over apologia, dharma over the nation state, and wisdom over cheap thrills, you will suddenly find Hindu unity. You won't find it by talking about it. At Upward, we believe that Hindus are in the midst of a civilizational clash, and we are pretty much on the receiving end because there is a profound lack of clarity. We have put ourselves on the task of defining and perhaps achieving in the long term our civilizational goals. If you like what we do, if you like our content, please support us, please subscribe to our channel and donate generously. Thank you.